It's a historic fight. You know, he made it very clear he will not lose those fights, and he made it very clear what he was going to do when he got in there, and he did it. He knocked them all out.
I can't let you go without asking, just in case you want to drop the bombshell, that Tyson's run you and he's coming back for AJ. Frank, just when the British boxing fans like myself start worrying that all the big shows are going to Saudi Arabia, you pull this out the fire. Easy one to do?
It actually was at the end of the day, because both sides wanted to make the fight. Alex Krasik and Aegis, and most importantly the two boxers, they really wanted it. And it's history. It's a historic fight. First time ever there's been a heavyweight unification, and it's for 4 belts. That's not including the ring belt and the IBO, but the 4 major belts. And Daniel has a chance, an opportunity to do something that no British heavyweight's ever done.
You were very passionate, and you are very passionate about the low blow situation of the first fight, and they've just had a pretty warm and exciting interaction just now about it.
Body shot?
Yeah.
Bro, what is body shot?
Shot, man.
Like a body shot?
I'll
body
show
shot,
you again.
body shot, it's like
show you
this,
again.
it's not this.
Yeah, I wasn't there. You didn't go like that.
I think Daniel's probably psychology at the time, that big long break in the ring, totally threw him off.
It was nearly 4 minutes. It was like a round and a minute, a round and a break. Yeah. And even when Oleksandr wanted to fight on, the referee held it up even longer, which was a liberty. And referee Pabon made a complete mess of it, and you know, not even before the fight didn't come in to give the proper instructions, which was all being filmed in the dressing room. But look, you can't change it. It's what it is, and I think that's the making of Daniel. I think he's come out of that fight knowing what he should have done, knowing that, you know, when things don't go your own way, you've got to make them go your way. You know, forget about the judge, forget about the referee. That's your judge, and that's your referee, and that's, you've got to go out there and do it. He was in the other guy's backyard. This time he's got it all going for him. It's at Wembley. I believe he's won the British public over. Certainly he did on the night of his last fight at Wembley against AJ, where they got cheered to the rafters leaving. So I think it's going to be a real emotional night at Wembley for him, and I really do believe he can do it.
You've guided him from day one of his professional career. How different is he? Because he's had two, you know, he's had now 2 stumbling blocks with the Joyce loss and the Usyk loss, and they weren't big knockouts where you can put it down to a fluke punch. It seemed like maybe his mentality was tested. How different is that man now that's in front of you taking on Usyk compared to the boy that's had those setbacks?
Well, when he signed with me, we first got involved with him, I think he was just turned 17 before he turned pro. So 18 is a very young age, especially for heavyweights to turn pro. And when I think AJ was about 24, wasn't he? 25 when he turned pro, or whatever it was. Yeah. So most of them turned pro pretty in their 20s. And the 2 fights you mentioned, the first fight against Joe Joyce, he was in front, and it was in COVID. Place was devoid of atmosphere, as we know. It was what it was, and the unfortunate thing was he, you know, and Joe boxed well, and he kept using that right hand and that jab, and he kept catching him on the eye, and he had 4 broken bones in the orbital socket, and a partially detached retina. Had that fight gone on, that would have been the end of his career, because the retina would have detached. Yeah. And you can imagine the pain from that. And what he did was the correct thing. And a lot of people jumped on him, called him a quitter, all sorts of things were said, which I didn't agree with. And at that time, nobody knew what the injury, how severe it was, because his eye was out here. So you had about 4 or 5 days waiting for the swelling to go down before they could do an MRI and scan it properly. And then once that was done, I mean, obviously it was it was an operation, and he kept him out the ring for quite a while. And the fight with Usyk, again, was in the other guy's backyard. Have all the arguments about the low blow. For me, it was never a low blow, but it was what it was. And you've got to look at, that's in the past and what you learn from it. And I think that fight's the making of him now. Yeah. You know, we made him 3 tough fights on the trot. He didn't have an easy job. And he was probably the most active heavyweight at that level in the world over that period of time. It was about 14 months. 4 fighters, 3 undefeated fighters, and 1 former 2-time world champion. Usyk, 2-weight world champion. Babe Miller, and who's ranked in the top 10, and the fighter that nobody wanted to fight in Hrgovic, who was the mandatory challenger for the IBF title. So we put him in, and each of those fights, those 4 fights, all of the bookmakers made him an underdog in each of those. Yeah. So he overturned the odds 3 times and was unlucky not to have done it in that fight against Usyk. So he's come on a bit, and I've noticed not just in the ring, I know what he's capable of in the ring, but what he does outside the ring now. He's grown up, he's matured a bit, and his confidence level is really good at the moment. And the fights that he's gone into, certainly those last 3 fights, he made it very clear he will not lose those fights, and he made it very clear what he was going to do when he got in there, and he did it. He knocked them all out.
I remember speaking to Martin Bowers, who guided him really well at the beginning from the Peacock, and he was always desperate for Daniel to find a bit of a hobby away from the sport, because all he ever did was train.
Correct.
And I see him now, he goes go-karting with his little brother, and I've even asked him, and his face lights up when he talks about that, because not just me, but Chris McKenna at the Star and Deck Taylor, we have followed him since day one, and he's not leery or outspoken. He's a quiet family boy, and we do sort of feel like a bit of duty of care might be a bit silly sounding, but we want to look after the boy. He's given his life to keep us in work and give us good stories, and you must feel that 10 times more, really.
Well, I do, but the environment he's brought up with his dad, they've got an unbelievable close bond. And his dad basically put him into boxing at a very young age, and the objective was that he felt that he would become, which he has done, a world champion, and that was the environment that he's in. And it was a funny thing, when he fought, and you are protected. I am what you say, very protective. I've had a few arguments over him with a few people, but I think about when he had these and the growing up, how he was with AJ. AJ's a street guy. Yeah. Comes from a similar background, I suppose, where I come from, maybe,
me as well.
And that's where he came from, and we heard of it, the Norwich Massive. He was in his way trying to intimidate him, but he just didn't buy into it, didn't get it, and he bit back at him, and then if you remember, he jumped up and said, let's do it now. And there's been a big change about him. And you're right, doing something else outside the ring rather than boxing is, he needs to do that, or anybody needs to do it. You need to have a break, don't you? Whatever you're doing, you can't live and breathe that, especially a tough sport like boxing. And what he was doing as well, he was training and then going home and training again.
Yeah, gymnastics, calisthenics, all that stuff.
That burns you out. Your body has to recover. And anyway, he's in a good place now. Don's done a great job with him and the team, and what I like about him now is his confidence. He's oozing with confidence. He really fancies this fight, and I genuinely do believe I believe he's in a place now that he can beat, the best heavyweight on the planet at the moment.
And then Moses to follow swiftly after. You're struggling a little bit.
Yeah, he's coming.
Pension can't come quick enough.
You think when I got into boxing, British heavyweights, we had some good heavyweight fighters, but none of them, they fought for world titles. They never won them. They're like buses. They're coming along and we're the bosses. Whereas the Yanks, who would have, had all the guys, nothing there now.
I can't let you go without asking, just in case you want to drop the bombshell, that Tyson's rung you and he's coming back for AJ. We see AJ, he sounds like he's having a real soul-searching holiday in Lagos in Nigeria, which looks great for him. We see Tyson put the odd little training video up.
Well, he trains all the time. I mean, he's had to do that for his, that he feels that helps him, or he's told me in the past that helps his mental as well as his physical well-being, and he keeps himself in shape, which is really good, and I'm pleased he does that. If he comes back, that's going to be his choice. I have not spoke with him once or put it to him that he should come back, and I wouldn't. If he's going to do it, he'll do it. If he don't do it, God bless him. He's been in some of the best fights of the 21st century in the heavyweight division. Exciting fights. Paid his dues. He's got a family, and on all these fighters sacrifice a lot to be away from their families, to go to training camps. Sometimes missing a baby being born, and he had a terrible thing as well where Paris lost a baby, and he wasn't there. All these things are tough, and it's a big sacrifice for a boxer. It's not a team. It's not a team game, as in. You put a substitute in, it's A against B, and that's it. And for him, I just want him to be happy. As I say, he's paid all his dues, and That's it. He's got more money he can spend in 20 lifetimes.
And with Moses Itauma, I did mention a little bit earlier, he's got a fight lined up, and I know that Francis, your boy, is having such a problem matching him because what he did to Dempsey McKean, who had gone 10 rounds, or almost 10 rounds, with Filip Hrgovic, who in their right mind is going to want to fight that boy? Because he doesn't have a world title yet, and to lose to a teenager is more or less a retirement sentence. I mean, life is going very well for the Queensberry stable and Francis, but matching him has got to be hell on earth.
It is, but I'd much rather it be my problem than somebody else's. So I'm delighted with that. Look, he's a prodigy, isn't he? And he's done everything that's been asked of him. He looks so mature in the ring, and he's a smart fighter. You watch him, and what I liked about that fight, and the same with the Wally fight. It's not like you watch some guys, they get someone in trouble and then they try to overwhelm them, they fall on them. He's like all the time thinking, keeping his distance, his perspective in the fight before he lets his shots go, and he's pinpoint with them. And he's a very, very powerful puncher. So you know at the end of the day, we're going to keep finding the fellas for him to fight. He'll fight for a world title, I believe, if he keeps winning. And that's going to be interesting to see who's around and what happens then. But it's exciting times. Heavyweight, but British boxing's in the best place it's been in for years and years. Great matches being made, even money fights, quality fights. Boxing ain't broke here.
No. And I remember interviewing you a little while ago when it was your 40th anniversary of being in the sport, and I think we was talking about when you might retire. I mean, Christ, you're going to outlast me at this rate.
Well, I enjoy it. I've been doing it with the border control and outside the border control now this is my 48th year of doing it. I enjoy it, and as long as I enjoy it, I'll keep doing it. You know, there's nothing better than this game than when you and I suppose a bit of ego involved with it, where you identify a young talent, or you see somebody who's not on the podium, not in the England squad, and you just go and do a deal, and then you start guiding them and bring them through.
Did you feel that when I first interviewed you?
It was the same thing, yeah. When when I was still, I'll see if I can nurture him and bring him along and get in there.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Get your trousers on.
No, I look like a blow lamp next to you. I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Frank. Thanks for coming in.